and welcome to Executive Spotlight, a special series on the Denodo Data Bytes podcast, where we dive into insights from executives and thought leaders shaping the future of data and AI adoption. Today, we are exploring the tangible return on investment, or ROI, of using the Denodo platform alongside modern data lakehouse architectures, focusing on how organizations can save costs, accelerate insights, and enable AI ready, business ready data at scale. I'm joined by Denodo Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer Ravi Shankar, who will be leading today's discussion. Ravi brings over 25 years of executive experience in enterprise software, product strategy, marketing, and business development, and has been a recognized thought leader in the data management, data governance, and data virtualization space. We're also honored to welcome our special guest, Andrew Milroy, Chief Analyst at Vector 8. Andrew is the author of the recent white paper, The ROI of Using the Denodo Platform Alongside the Modern Data Lakehouse, which highlights how enterprises can achieve significant cost savings, accelerate time to insight, and gain strategic advantages with Denodo. With a distinguished career spanning leading analyst firms including ISG, Frost and Sullivan, and IDC, Andrew brings a wealth of evidence based insights and practical strategies to help organizations unlock real business value from their data. With that, I'll hand it over to Ravi to start today's conversation.
Thank you, Neha. Andrew, it's great to have you here. Today, we will explore how Denodo delivers measurable ROI alongside modern data lakehouses. Andrew, I want to set the context here for before starting this podcast. As you know, lakehouse adoption is being mainstream. Many of the companies use it, but where they go wrong is using the lakehouse itself for everything that they want to do. This kind of reminds me of using the hammer both for like hammering a nail as well as using it for a screw. You see, data management is pretty broad, and the companies need to have a most effective strategy to delivering the data, for which using the best approach for a given use case is what they should be following. Like using a logical approach to data management where it is suited, like semantics for AI ready data and so on. So, Andrew, let me start off this question to you. In writing this report, can you give us an idea about how you went about conducting the study?
So, Ravi, thanks so much for inviting me today. I'm delighted to be here. So, what we did for this project is we interviewed a bunch of Denodo customers and a bunch of organizations that are not using Denodo, all of whom are using lakehouses. And the idea really was to try to identify the benefits of using Denodo with these lakehouses, a way that you could unleash the full value of the lakehouses and get very substantial additional benefits through using Denodo. So we spoke to large enterprises spread across different parts of the world, a huge range actually, some with as few as 5,000 employees and some with as many as 150,000 employees. We spoke to project owners, we spoke to heads of data engineering, we spoke to chief data officers, actually a range of titles, but all of whom were key stakeholders in the data stack. And we really did get some fantastic insights.
Awesome. That seems pretty broad, Andrew. So let's dive into the report itself. One of the most striking parts for me in this report was the sheer scale of the ROI that enterprises are seeing. To me, it really demonstrates how Denodo using on top of a lakehouse strategy translates to measurable business values. So, Andrew, this brings me to the white paper in which you highlight about a 345% ROI over a 3-year time frame with a cost savings of about $3.6 million for enterprises that use Denodo along with the lakehouse. Can you break down for our audience the key factors that are driving such a high ROI?
Sure, Ravi. So what we did with the interviews is we sought to quantify the benefits of using Denodo as opposed to using other types of third-party tools to achieve equivalent outcomes. And we looked at it from two angles. We looked at the cost side, so the cost benefits of using Denodo, and obviously a really big one is that data stays at source. So for an organization, they don't need to move data around. They don't need to build new data pipelines. And As a result of this, data engineering effort required to integrate data sources falls by about 75% when Denodo is implemented. And this is relatively conservative. Some organizations reported much higher cost benefits associated with this. What we also found on the cost side that was very significant is after you take implementation into account, the cost of Denodo, we found that overall year on year operations costs dropped sharply by over 60%. And this again is largely to do with the fact that companies are not duplicating data. The data is kept at source. They can create new business views super fast, and governance is centralized and unified. So the cost of governance around different data sources is not there because you've got a unified layer for governance. Perhaps, becoming critically important are the business benefits that we identified. So we found that businesses were reporting that there was much faster time to insight when they used Denodo, sometimes 3, 4, or 5x from not using Denodo. We also found much faster time to value because you could basically scale digital operations. You can implement Denodo across different sites much faster. You don't need to worry about building new pipelines or data sovereignty issues in different parts of the world. We found mining companies, for example, and banks with operations across different countries were telling us they were able to scale their digital operations much faster with Denodo than without. So by accelerating insights, they were able to make much better decisions faster, which for them translated into millions of dollars of strategic value.
That's amazing. Like those numbers are really very compelling. Now, one thing is the cost, and towards the end, you talked about accelerating the data itself. So, in my viewpoint, like many enterprises are under a lot of pressure these days to accelerate decision making. And waiting for months to get new data from some centralized source is not acceptable to them anymore. So, in such cases, my customers have actually seen using a logical data management promises a faster time to insight by connecting to the data where it lives rather than moving it to a centralized place. So, Andrew, let me call you on this. Can you quantify and dig deeper into your one of the metrics that you called out here, which is 3 to 4 times faster for delivering insights?
Yeah, look, it's a really critical one. So, really, to explain it, I mean, the Denodo technology, I think, as you indicated, the data stays at source. So, you have real time data federation. You can get insights in real time. So, without Denodo, you're looking at, batches. You're looking at having a schedule where a batch of data moves around, right? So, using a pipeline. With Denodo, with the logical data management, this changes it. So, you're able to connect directly to the data wherever it resides, and you're able to access that in real time. And we have some, really good examples of this. So I think it was one of the manufacturing companies that we spoke to was saying they were able to do real time financial reconciliation, which speeded up for them their decision making and their insights actually more than 3 to 4 times faster, very, very significantly, which was enabled them to make really, really critical decisions much faster and make their operations run a lot more smoothly than they did before they were using Denodo.
Awesome. So one of the CIO actually, told us that doing analysis used to take like months, and now this could be completed in days using the logical data management. Now we know that accelerating the insights is very critical so companies can take faster decisions in this competitive environment. But there's also a bigger picture that goes with it as it relates to like cost and resource efficiency. In your report, you talked about organizations not only cutting engineering effort or data engineering effort and the infrastructure spend, but also positioning themselves for long time scalability. So, Andrew, how should executives think about these operational efficiency in terms of a long term strategic value?
Look, there's so many. I mean, I think as we've discussed, there's such a huge range of different use cases. But look, as an executive, costs obviously a big issue to executives always. Look, you're in a situation where basically you can make significant savings from some of the some complex and challenging tasks around data engineering. and infrastructure. And this means that you have additional budget that you can reallocate to more higher value activities, maybe putting them more into building up your AI models, things that are strategic to the business, new data initiatives, and so on. So, for us, when we looked at it, it wasn't just about saving money. It was about building a more agile organization that's able to take advantage of the way we are moving. I know we're going to talk a bit more about AI, but one of the really, really key things that comes out of this is that it enables us to put trusted data into AI models. And one of the big issues around AI today is governance. And for a long-term strategic value, having that Denodo layer feed into your AI models is really going to be strategic to a lot of organizations where they have this really big concern around data governance, as well as obviously having, the additional funds that they can put into different initiatives.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And let's dive right into the hottest topic, which is the AI. So we know that AI is only as good as the data it is trained on, right? Without quality, consistency, governance, the results that you get from that could be unpredictable, right? So, Andrew, can you walk us through how companies are scaling or accelerating their AI initiatives with trusted real time data?
Sure. So, I mean, as you highlighted, AI is only as strong as the data it's trained on. Without consistent, explainable, high quality data, you really do risk poor accuracy and compliance issues. And what we found is that Denodo provides a governed, federated layer of AI ready data. And we've seen this in action, right? So, this is something that we're seeing companies do. And data science teams are able to access these live integrated data sets much, much faster in real time or in minutes or hours instead of weeks, meaning they can spend a lot more time training these models and delivering business value. And we had, some examples of this. One of the manufacturing companies, I know this isn't the most exciting example of AI, but they were able to develop models that really help them with predictive maintenance and optimizing their operations because Denodo creates a logical data layer that unifies all their sources in real time and gives them access to up-to-date data without having to wait for batch updates. And this feeds AI models with governed current data, which is really, really important for these models. And we had another organization that shared that this shift allowed them to fast track AI-driven customer insights, which could enable them to open up completely new revenue opportunities. So they are able to deliver much more personalized experiences and more tailored recommendations to improve customer experience. Actually, the list goes on of use cases that we could discuss here.
Of course. And, talking about AI and you brought in the governance aspect of it, that reminds me one of my own customers in the manufacturing industry. The CIO was struggling with delivering the data to a number of business units. He said about like 50 different units at the time were demanding data from them. So, how you as a CIO can deliver this data in a governed fashion without compromising the data security, right? So, that is key. And in your paper, you do address the governance as one of the central themes. And to me, quite often I've seen people kind of bolt on data governance, which adds complexity and it slows the projects. So to me, it needs to be integrated into the data at the time of delivery, and that way organizations can reduce the risk and build the confidence in the data to the enterprise, like the CIO I talked about. So you quantified about 77% reduction in cost realized through governance and consistency. Can you talk to that, Andrew?
I can, yeah. So when we look at it, if you don't have Denodo, you're looking at getting third-party tools and spending a significant amount using them for governance. But one of the issues, without Denodo is you're looking at governance for different data sources, so in different silos. With Denodo, you unify it all, you're able to centralize it, or you're able to embed governance into the logical layer itself. So every data access, every policy, every lineage trace is consistent across the enterprise. And to add a bit of color to this, we spoke to a bank and they said that, it really did simplify their audits and it made it much easier for them to be compliant. And they were much more confident with Denodo that they could achieve compliance. And this bank that we spoke to said that this was actually the key differentiator for them in using Denodo, which made me think during the project that, perhaps we need to look at governance more as a business benefit than something that Denodo can help me become more cost efficient at achieving. Because a lot of companies said, look, this governance capability that Denodo offers is so simple to use. It's fantastic. It enables us to be confident that we are being compliant, which is really critical for us, especially in sectors such as financial services.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So let's bring this podcast to a close. I just have one final question, and I want to end with where I started. We talked about having the lakehouses. Companies are already using them. We are actually talking about not replacing them. We are actually talking about complementing them. So companies have invested a lot into these investments. It's about what we are talking here is using Denodo or a logical approach to maximize those investments, like with the AI projects and so on, at the same time cutting the cost and reducing the risk. So, Andrew, I would like you to kind of reinforce this. So, for organizations that are using the Lakehouse platform, so what should executives focus on when they're evaluating Denodo to maximize the ROI that you identified in this white paper?
Sure. Look, the lake houses are great. So, we had some fantastic conversations with the lake house vendors, and those companies are doing very well and are very innovative, and what they're offering is, very useful to the enterprise. So what we were keen to focus on is what Denodo effectively brings to the party with them. It seems that a lot of people, I shouldn't say it seems, it's quite clear that for a lot of Denodo users, Denodo is enabling them to really get more value out of those lake houses. So there are things that the lake houses do not do natively. So real-time federation, right? So you have to build pipelines typically. They don't have native semantic layers. It's something, again, that you need to build. They don't offer self-service in the same way as Denodo does. They don't offer this unified governance across different data sources in the same way as Denodo does. When you have data in them, yes, they offer you all those kind of benefits, but Denodo's got this amazing capability to be able to offer these benefits across multiple sources. Obviously, the lake houses being the critical one for a lot of organizations today, but it just brings a lot more to the party that can really enable you to drive a lot more benefit from these lakehouse platforms. And I think that's what executives really need to think about. It's not a case of Denodo being a replacement. It's what value Denodo can add in addition, and how Denodo can really help you drive more value from those existing lakehouse investments.
Well, I really enjoyed the discussion, Andrew. You provided a lot of insights here. And I would like to encourage the readers to go to denodo.com and download this white paper and read it. There are a lot more details than what we discussed on this podcast. So, with that, Andrew, again, I would like to thank you, and Neha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ravi and Andrew, for joining us today and sharing these insightful perspectives on how Denodo drives ROI and accelerates AI ready, business ready data alongside modern data lakehouses. I'm sure our listeners found this discussion as valuable as I did. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining today. And a quick message to our listeners: if you've enjoyed this episode, please head over to denodo.com/podcast to find out more resources on all things data.